If you want to be an effective leader, you have to really understand what is important to you and be able to demonstrate that to your people every day.
Welcome to the Leadership Initiative, where we explore the art and science of leadership through thought-provoking conversations with experts, thought leaders, and change makers. Whether you're a seasoned leader or just starting out on your leadership journey, this podcast is designed to provide you with the tools and inspiration you need to lead with purpose and make a meaningful difference.
Hello, welcome to the Fisher Leadership Initiative podcast. My name is Jen Knox Shanahan, and we are here today with Jen Hrusovsky. Jen is a certified IT business strategist with 35 plus years of proven government, business, nonprofit, and higher education experience in providing leadership, developing relationships, as well as organizing and implementing organizational, business process, and informational technology change. Jen is a thought leader in the IT, higher ed, government, and nonprofit industries through his involvement with many clients and organizations and numerous speaking engagements. Jen was the founder of JJH Consulting, which was purchased by an organization a year ago and is now the managing director of Synexis Consulting. Jen is the program advisor for the Ohio State University Fisher College of Business graduate certification in IT business strategy. Jen graduated from OSU in 1986 with a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration and a double major of MIS and Accounting. Hello, Jen.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here with us.
No problem.
I'm curious about, I'm going to turn left without my signal, as my mother would say.
Okay.
And I'm curious about the technology industry and just the rapid changes that are happening now with AI. And are you noticing more resistance, less resistance? Is it hard to keep up? What are the changes that you're noticing right now?
Well, I would say, so just to give you a little bit more background, right? So I started in this industry in the mid 80s, right?
Okay.
And the fundamentals of technology are really not much different right now. They're more advanced as it relates to the tools and the storage capabilities, but the concept of having a computer system that provides, either an end user or a business or an institution, support, right? And for that business process really hasn't changed. So so I was fortunate enough, I spent my first 20 years of my career with Accenture, and at Accenture, we learned the fundamentals of how to implement and manage and maintain systems, right? And what the purpose of them were and how important it was to bring the end user population on board. So in a lot of ways, those concepts haven't really changed in years, okay? Now, what has changed is the number of people using technology, right? Yes. So, it wasn't even 20 years ago that you would have people leveraging their phones, from a technology perspective to do things that, you never would have imagined that they could have done before, right? So what we've done is but the concept, right? The concept of what that particular, what your iPhone is doing, right, is no different than the concept of what the first computer system did for GE back in the 60s when they created a payroll system, right? That I don't know if it was the 60s, I think it was maybe the 70s, but the concept was it was automating a manual process. It was creating a user interface to a set of end users. That's what when you're using your phone. I was out taking a jog yesterday and I used my phone for my run, right? It's doing that concept is the same concept, right? Now, so I think, and now AI is, it'll, in my mind, AI is just another way to leverage technology, right? Just like client server was, just like, cloud systems were, and so forth, right? Just like the PC. And so, I think that's great. Now, I will say that one of the challenges that there's a lot of people that don't know those fundamentals, right? And they believe that they're technologists, right? And so, so let's just say that you're a person that, you graduated from college and you know how to configure a ERP system, an administrative system, right? And you say, "Oh, I'm a technologist." Well, do you know how to test it? Do you understand the how it should be integrated with an end user? Do you understand how important the data is and how you got to get that in, right? Those are things that a lot of people don't really know. So what I have seen over the years is a lot of individuals early on, like myself, we got those fundamentals. A lot of people don't get those today, and so they really don't understand they don't understand kind of how it all fits together. And then you have an end user population. A lot of the end users used to be business people, right? Or the end users within like a business environment or a university environment or whatever it may be, right? But now a lot of the end users are using technology more on a personal basis, right? And that's where, and they don't have any training whatsoever, right? And so you do see some of this age gap, right? Where the, people that are maybe more experienced, maybe more older, are a little bit more nervous, right, to use it. Some embrace it dramatically, but at the same time, we even notice, some of the younger folks, they, even if they've grown up on it, they still don't know the fundamentals, and so they embrace it, but they can only embrace certain aspects of it because they only know so much. So it's a long-winded answer to the industry dramatically change, and we're, it continues to change, but the fundamentals aren't changing. And I think we as true technologists should be really trying to work with, people we know, our clients, colleagues, to really understand the concepts versus just being an end user and using your phone to do, A, B, and C.
Yeah, that's already so helpful. Just thinking about those fundamentals takes a lot of the mystery and even, for some people, fear, or other people perhaps the illusion of mastery out of it. So I'm going to go to a few more broad-reaching questions here. If you had one single piece of advice that you could offer a leader who is currently embarking on major organizational transformation, what would that be?
Well, I would, my one piece of advice to that person would be to embrace it, to really I mean, a lot of times leaders, and I see this, right? They'll sign off on a $100 million IT project, and they think they've just washed their hands of it, right? They're like, all their people are going to do it all, and the consulting firm's going to do it all, right? To me, if I'm a leader and I'm going through that, you got to be there with your team, right? It's like you can't be this may not be a great analogy, but you can't be the general who tells everyone what to do, and then you stand way, way behind everybody, and everyone else, is moving forward, right? You have to be there with them, right? You have to be, the main person, right? You can't outsource to your leadership team or to other people the responsibility of embracing and moving forward with an organizational change. You have to be, you have to live and breathe it every day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because what happens, Jen, in organizations, and it happens not just, it happens, the staff, the team that works for the leader, they emulate the behavior of the leader, right? So if the leader wants to take a shortcut, if the leader is not morally based, if the leader doesn't, do the right things, it's no different than a parent, right? If a parent does things that are not appropriate, what do they expect their kids to do, right? So a leader's the same way. A leader, you have to be true to the mission. You have to be the person that's out there driving the change, right? And not like, I mean, I was in a meeting just recently with the president of the university, and she said to me, during a break, we were presenting, she said to me during the break, she says, well, I just don't know if I'm up for this. And I looked right at her and I said, well, listen, if you're not up for it, then you shouldn't do it. And she just kind of looked at me and I said, because you have to live and breathe this. You have to be the leader of this,
Yes.
right? This is not going to be successful if you think you're going to be able to outsource this to somebody. And she's like, and we'll see what she does.
Yeah. That's a call to action.
Yeah.
Wow. And I think that kind of plays back to that self-awareness piece, which makes me curious when, as a consultant and working with people who may lack a little bit of that awareness piece, or it sounds like you've been doing this long enough that you're able to call this out in a productive way. But I'm just curious, how do you approach that if you do notice that there may be resistance because there is a lack of self-awareness from a leader or perhaps a team that has unrealistic expectations?
Well, I mean, you have to figure out how to be honest with them without offending them, right? So.
Yes.
Again, I've been fortunate enough to be in a situation where, I'd have to worry if I offended them, right? Because they may just say, well, guess what? We're not going to work with you guys anymore. We're going to go find some other firm to work with, right? So I think you just have to be creative in how you approach people. But
Yes.
at the same time, if you respect a person, right, and they respect you, they should be open to hear that feedback, right? Because they know it's coming from, it's genuine, right? It's not like you're trying to play them. It's not like you're trying to, manipulate the situation. You want them to be successful, right? And so you're like, hey, you know what? This is, I'll give you another example, right? Another organization I work with, right? The team was all in this big change you're going to go through. But what we figured out pretty quickly was the leader and the leadership team were not there, right? Okay. And they were not there from the perspective of like, do I really want to do this? But not just that, they were also not there that even people at the same level, they had different views of what success was. So we actually, I went to the overall leader, in this case, the president of the university, and I said to him, listen, I think we got to do some coaching and some training here at the leadership level so that you and your team are aligned for success.
Yes.
And so I couched it in a way that I was really saying we got to work with you guys or we're all going to fail, right? That's what I was kind of saying internally. But what I really said to them was, I said, well, if we don't work together on this and figure out how to get you all at the same level, right, and be ready for this, then we're not going to be successful. He's like, I agree. And so we put a whole program in place, for that leadership team to get that alignment they needed to be able to be successful from this project perspective.
That's a great example. Thank you. What emerging trends or challenges in leadership do you believe today's leaders should be preparing for?
Well, I think that leaders, I've met so many leaders that they want to chase the shiny new object, right? Like they go to some seminar, right? They listen to some podcast, right? They do something, right? And they come back and they're like, we're going to change all this, right? This person said A, B, and C, right? Well, that can be detrimental, right? That can be impactful in a negative way. And so what I say is that you got to develop your fundamental characteristics of your leadership, right? Like, how am I going to act every day, right, with my team? And yeah, that may be adjusted slightly, right, over time as you learn. But you don't want to be willy-nilly, right? And so let me give you an example of what I mean. Like right now, everyone's talking about AI, right? And that's great, right? It's great tools and great capability, and we're leveraging it within our organization. But it's not the end all. right? And so I've literally talked to people. They're like, well, we've shut down all our other initiatives. We're just going to focus on AI. Well, what does that mean? Like, and why are you doing that? What about these areas right here, right? Well, AI is going to help us. Well, how is it going to help you do that, right? And so I think in technology, technology now is so important to every organization, right? And so, to me, enlightened leaders understand the importance of technology.
Yes.
And just because they understand that AI is important doesn't mean they're enlightened, right? They have to look at it from a holistic perspective, right? And figure out how they can really leverage the capabilities of technology that are out there. And let me give you an example of that. Like, so if a leader came to me and said, we're just gonna spend all our time on this AI initiative, and we're going to spend all our money on that for the next 12 months. I'm making this up as an example. And then I say, well, we did a quick analysis of your current systems, and you've got 50 systems and you could really consolidate that down to 5 systems and be able to be more focused, more efficient, and have more capabilities by doing that. That's one thing. Secondly, your data is all over the place, right? You have no real effective data management strategy. So you can spend all your time over here, right, with the new shiny, bell and whistle, but you really, if you don't fix these areas over here, right, that's not going to get you to where you want to get to. So maybe what you do so you look at your areas of greatest need, which in this example is non-integrated systems and data that's not effective. And you use AI capabilities and tools to focus on those areas. That is a more effective strategy. So you're leveraging the best tools that are out there, and you're doing it in a way that hits your weak spots. That is a strategy. That's what an effective leader does, not just, we're gonna embrace AI because everyone and their brother's embracing it. It's no different than what happened 10, 15 years ago when all these organizations said, we're gonna go to the cloud. And like, well, what does that really mean? Like, what are you talking about? Like, and then you had the resistance of people, well, we're not going to the cloud because they're not secure, right? Well, what we find is that it can be secure, but you have to do it in an effective way.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Take a lot of that ambiguity out of it too. It's, so is there anything that I have not asked that you would like to offer to our listeners just in terms of leadership advice or advice for organizational change?
Well, I mean, I would, let me say this, that I do, there are many types of leaders out there, right? And one of the things that you all are doing in this institute, which I think is great, is you call it principled leadership, right? And I think that's a really, really important point, right? And I'm not saying this because, we're having this discussion, right? I'm saying it because I really believe it. So let me give you an example of what I mean by that, right? So I'm going to give you 2 extremes of leaders, right? Abraham Lincoln was a leader, right? And, people would argue that, some folks in the Middle East are leaders right now, right? Well, Abraham Lincoln was very principled, right? So he understood what his goals and objectives were, right? But he also had empathy, and he understood that it was more than just, winning the war, right? There was more reason to do this. And so he's very principled in his logic, and he had ideas, but he was also flexible and could work with Congress to get what he needed to do to be able to be successful. That is an effective leader. Right? That is someone that can get a lot done in an effective way versus other leaders that are more dictatorial and they're more like it's my way or the highway, and they can still get things done, right? But they're not going to be long-term successful. And I think we as leaders, right, if you want to be an effective leader, you have to really understand what is important to you and be able to demonstrate that to your people every day. And also, being a leader is not something you can turn on and off, right? Like you have to be a leader 24/7, right? You have to live and breathe that, right? You can't you just have to have a focus on it. And leadership is more than just inspiring. And I'll go back to what I said earlier, right? It's being able to, once you get people to understand, here's what we're all going to do together. Now, how do we do that together, right?
Yes.
And so it's the why we're doing it, but it's how we're doing it and in what we're doing and when we're doing it. So those are all really important to be an effective leader.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much for everything today. This has been a fantastic discussion. I've really enjoyed it. And I'm sure our listeners will too. Have a lovely day, John.
Great. Thank you. Thanks, Jen.
Thanks again for listening. This podcast is presented by the Max M. Fisher College of Business at The Ohio State University. For more episodes, find us on Apple, Google, or podcast.osu.edu/leadership initiative. See you next time.